Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to English class. After a long time, we are meeting now, right? I think you are safe and healthy. Okay, today we are going to deal with our second unit. First unit almost over. Then we are going to start our second unit. In this unit contains 2 prose and 1 poem. The first one, Cinderella, short story. And the second one, the speech of Malala Yousafzai. One child, one teacher, one pen, one book can change the world. And the third one is a poem, Woman Work, written by Maya Angelou. In this unit, our first text, Cinderella, was written and published in 1697 in the name of Little Glass Slipper by a French writer, Charles Perrault. Later, in 1812, the Grimm brothers published this story in their famous book of fairy tales. It was a story of a magical fairy godmother who helps a girl to dress up for a ball, for a party. Let's start the story. I shall narrate the story. Okay, listen. Once upon a time, there lived a rich man with his wife and beautiful daughter. They lived happily, but one day his wife fell ill and she understood she was going to die. Then she called her only daughter near and said, I think I have to part with you. Be good and pious. God will always be with you. God will help you. Saying thus, that girl's mother died. The girl felt sad and lonely. To add to her grief, her father soon married a woman who had 2 daughters. She was a widow. She had 2 daughters. She was unkind and proud. A cruel lady was she. That day onwards, the girl's evil time started. That much cruel people were our stepmother and stepsisters. They took away the pretty dresses of the girl and forced her to wear very old and grey one. They have given her wooden shoes to wear. They made her to do all works in the home from morning to night. She had no time to rest. After the heavy works of every day, she had no bed to lie down. She sleeps among the cinders. Cinders means charam. She was sleeping among the cinders near their hearth, adupu. Then she was always looked dusty and dirty because she is sleeping among the cinders. So she looked always dusty and dirty. So they named her Cinderella. Then the girl got the name Cinderella. How did the girl get the name? As she slept in the cinders. Cinders means charam. As she slept in the cinders, she got the name Cinderella. Understood? Then, that is the life of Cinderella. One day, the prince of the land invited every young woman of his kingdom for a ball in his palace. Ball means a party of his palace. His plan was to choose his princess amongst them. Then every young woman in the kingdom ready to go. Cinderella also heard this news. She wished to go, but stepmother and stepsisters wouldn't allow her to go. They have gone, but they are not ready to take her with them. Cinderella became very sad. Then she thought about her mother. If her mother were alive, she would surely send her to the ball, she thought. Then a fairy godmother. Fairy godmother means a devada. A fairy godmother appeared in front of her and promised her to help her to dress up for the ball, for the party. And the fairy godmother arranged everything for going to the ball. At first, fairy changed a big pumpkin into a red coach for traveling, and 6 mice changed it to white horses for riding the vehicle, and 6 lizards changed it to footmen. And she has changed her old grey dress to a beautiful clothes of silk and gold. And at last, 2 glass chapel, beautiful glass chapel also fairy given to her. And Cinderella ready to go. But before going, fairy godmother reminded her one thing. That is, this is a magic. This magic will end at 12 o'clock. So, before 12 o'clock, you should reach home. Otherwise, the magic will end. Okay? Then, fairy godmother reminded her this thing. And Cinderella went to party. In the ball or in the party, Cinderella was the central attraction. That much beautiful girl was she. Stepmother and stepsisters also were there, but they couldn't understand it was Cinderella. Everybody looked at her admiringly. That much beautiful girl was that. Prince also loved her very much. Most of the time, Prince danced with her. Cinderella also became very happy. She never expected this thing in her life. Then she remember about fairy's words. So she went away from the palace before 12 o'clock. Then she reached home before her sisters arrived home. That day also nobody could understand it was Cinderella. Next day also Cinderella went to the ball. Then she danced with the prince. She mesmerized in the dancing of the prince. Dance with the prince, she mesmerized everything. And she forgot the time. Suddenly, she remembered about the time. Then she ran out of the palace. Before getting into the red coach, everything became old one. The red coach changed to pumpkin. The white horses changed to mice. The footmen changed to lizards. And her beautiful clothes changed to old and grey one, a rag dress. But one thing only didn't change. That was her chapel, glass chapel. But one only was with her. One she left in the palace. Anyway, she reached home before her sisters arrived. So they couldn't understand Cinderella was that beautiful lady. Then, after some days, the prince became very sad because he loved that lady very much. He wanted to find out the beautiful girl to marry her. And he ordered his servants to find out her. Then the prince visited each and every home of his kingdom with the shoe. He invited every girl to try the shoe, try the chappal. But it did not suit for anyone. At last, the prince reached the house of Cinderella. There, at first, Cinderella's two step-sisters tried the shoe, but it was not fit for them or suit for them. They tried to cut their two ants' feet, even though it was not suit for them. At last, Cinderella requested to try for the shoe, but stepmother and stepsisters wouldn't allow her. But Prince wanted her to try for it. Cinderella tried. It was suit for her because it was her shoe. It was her chappal. Then Prince became very happy. So because he found the girl of his princess. Then the prince married the beautiful girl Cinderella, and Cinderella pardon means ksemichu, to her stepsisters and stepmother, and she took them to the palace. There they lived happily thereafter. That is the story of Cinderella. Did you like the story? Did you understand the story? Okay, then let's watch the video of the story. Then you can understand more clearly what I said.
Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful girl named Cinderella. She was kind and gentle and lived with her widowed father. Later, he married another woman, a widow who had 2 daughters. Soon after her father died, her stepmother started to treat her cruelly.
I hate her. All the nice things, dresses, shoes, delicious food, comfortable beds, kind thoughts, and loving touches are for my own daughters alone.
She was given only the left-outs to eat and rags to wear.
Oh, mother, why did you leave me? Hey, stop dreaming. Come here. Washing has to be done. After washing, prepare lunch for us.
She was made to work hard all day, and at the end, she retired to her bedroom where birds and mice came to meet her. They were her only friends.
Hey, Cinderella! Why do you feel bad? Cheer up! You have something neither of your stepsisters has, and that is beauty!
A few miles away from where Cinderella lived, there was a beautiful palace.
Minister, it's time for our prince to get married.
Yes, Your Majesty. We should look out for a beautiful and smart girl for our beautiful and brave prince.
Yes, let's arrange for a grand ball. I want you to send out invites to all beautiful maidens living nearby.
It will be done, Your Majesty.
Invitations were prepared. One day, while Cinderella was scrubbing the floor, she heard a loud knock on the door.
Cinderella, open the door and see who is there.
Cinderella opened the door.
I'm here to hand over the invitation to the ball arranged by the king.
The moment the messenger completed the sentence, stepmother, along with her daughters, came there.
Let me read out the invitation. Oh, grand ball! I want you both to go there with your splendid attire. And you have to impress the prince in such a way that he should marry one of you.
But mother, can I?
Oh, yes, my dear. You have much work to do. You're staying in home to wash the dishes, scrub the floors, and turn down the beds for your stepsisters. They will come home tired and very sleepy.
But the royal command says that every eligible maiden is to attend.
Okay, you can go, provided you finish all the chores and if you have something nice and suitable to wear.
Cinderella went to her bedroom and sat there wondering what to do. The mice and birds too wondered what to do. Suddenly, something amazing happened. There was a burst of light and a fairy appeared.
Don't be alarmed, Cinderella. I'm a fairy. The wind blew me your signs. I know you would love to go to the ball, and so you shall.
How can I? Dressed in rags? The servants will turn me away.
The fairy smiled and raised her magic wand. Cinderella found herself wearing the most beautiful dress, the loveliest ever seen in the realm.
Now that we have settled the matter of the dress, we'll need to get you a coach. A real lady would never go to a ball on foot. Quick, get me a pumpkin.
Oh, of course. I will come with the pumpkin.
The moment Cinderella ran to the garden, the fairy followed her. The mice and the birds followed the fairy. The fairy turned to the mice and raised her magic wand. The mice turned into beautiful white horses and into a coachman in a smart uniform and carrying a whip.
Now the horses are ready. We need a coach. This pumpkin. Now you even have a lovely and grand coach.
I could hardly believe my eyes.
Now you can get into the coach. Oh my, I have forgotten one thing. Your slippers.
Oh yes.
Again the fairy, with a wave of her magic wand, gave Cinderella the slippers.
Oh, glass slippers? This is the loveliest one. Thank you.
I shall present you at court. You will soon see that the prince, in whose honor the ball is being held, will be enchanted by your loveliness. But remember, you must leave the ball at midnight and come home, for that is when the spell ends. Your coach will turn back into a pumpkin. The horses will become mice again, and the coachman will turn back into a mouse, and you will be dressed again in rags and wearing clogs instead of these elegant little slippers. Do you understand?
Cinderella smiled and said,
Yes, I understand.
Fairy disappeared. When Cinderella entered the ballroom, everyone admired her. The two stepsisters, too, wondered who the newcomer was. When the prince set eyes on Cinderella, he was struck by her beauty. Walking over to her, he bowed deeply.
Will you dance with me?
And to the great disappointment of all the young ladies, he danced with Cinderella all evening.
does it matter who I am? You will never see me again anyway.
Oh, but I shall. I'm quite certain.
Cinderella forgot about the warning. All of a sudden, she heard the sound of a clock, the first stroke of midnight.
Oh, I have to leave.
She ran down the steps. As she ran, she lost one of her slippers, but not for a moment did she dream of stopping to pick it up.
If the last stroke of midnight were to sound, oh, what a disaster that would be.
She got into the coach and somehow managed to reach her home before the clock ticked 12. The prince, who was now madly in love with her, picked up her slipper and said to his minister,
Go and search everywhere for the girl whose foot this slipper fits. I will never be content until I find her.
Don't worry, I will take care of it.
The minister ordered the messenger to find out who the maiden was. The messenger went to all the houses where he gave the invitation. Finally, they entered Cinderella's house.
Can you call your daughters so that we can check?
Oh, sure. My dear daughters, will you come down here?
First, the elder one cried. The slipper was too small for her. Next, the younger one tried, but for her, it was too big.
Minister, these girls too is not the maiden we are searching for. Is there anyone apart from these two?
No one.
Please wait. Can I try?
No, she's our servant. You can leave.
No, let her try.
The stepmother deliberately pushed the messenger. The slipper he was holding fell down and smashed into pieces.
Oh, what have you done? This is terrible.
But you see, I have the other glass slipper.
The minister and everyone looked at Cinderella, who was holding up her glass slipper.
Try it out.
The slipper fitted perfectly, much to the dislike of the stepmother and her two daughters.
Hurrah-ho! So, you are the maiden our prince is searching for.
This awful untidy girl simply cannot have been at the ball. Tell the prince he ought to marry one of my two daughters. Can't you see how ugly Cinderella is?
Suddenly, the fairy appeared.
That's enough.
She raised her magic wand. In a flash, Cinderella appeared in a splendid dress, shining with youth and beauty. Her stepmother and stepsisters gaped at her in amazement.
Come with us, fair maiden. The prince waits to present you with his engagement ring.
So, Cinderella joyfully went with them. Cinderella and the prince were married in a grand ceremony, and they lived happily ever after.
How is the story? How is the video? Did you like it? Understood well? Yes. Okay. Then I am going to give you one activity. Okay. Very simple one. That is, write in your notebook. Write a short note on Cinderella. Write a short note on Cinderella. Cinderella കുറിച്ച് ഒരു കുറിപ്പ് എഴുതുക. From this story, I think you could understand what is the character of Cinderella and write a short note on Cinderella. Write in your English notebook. Okay? That is today's work. Okay. Let's see in the next class. Okay? Bye.